loan borrowers with as much as $20,000 in debt relief, which again is being stymied by Republicans who don't think you deserve it. But there are organizations across this country who are fighting to make sure that lower income voters can fight for their priorities by boosting turnout and countering voter suppression. They include tonight's democracy defender, Bishop William Barber, the co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, who led a coalition of groups that train hundreds of poll monitors in 10 states. And today, Bishop Barber launched a new initiative to register and mobilize low-wealth voters with a coalition of organizations, including the League of Women Voters, Planned Parenthood, and Black Voters Matter. It's called Register, Resist, Reclaim. And Bishop William Barber joins me now. And Bishop, always great to see you. And tell me what Register, Resist, Reclaim is looking to do, and where are you looking to do it?
Well, you can go to www.vote411.org, register, resist, reclaim. We're saying to poor and low-wage, low-wealth voters that you must mobilize. You cannot merely mourn over what has happened. We're trying to make sure people understand that in every state where the margin of victory was within 3%, poor and low-wealth voters make up over 40% of the vote. In states like Florida, only 4% of poor and low-wealth voters that didn't vote the last time that they voted, they could outdistance any margin of victory. 7% in Georgia, 19% in North Carolina, 4% in Pennsylvania, 1% in Michigan, 4% in Florida. So we have power. And we're doing this on top of the Poor People's Campaign effort that followed our mass meeting in June called If You Ever Needed to Vote for Democracy and Justice, You Need to Vote Now, where we're reaching 5 million voters. We've been working for now 4 months, 5 million poor and low-wealth voters who have not voted, but when they tended to vote, they voted for an agenda around living wages and health care. They voted for the things that matter in lifting up all Americans.
And that's the reason that voter suppression only targets poor and low-wealth voters, right? Because it is lower-wealth voters who tend to use things like drop boxes. The war against that is about not letting them vote, because as you said, when lower-wealth people vote, they tend to vote for things that will help them and help people like them. What do you say to people who tell you, who might tell you, who sometimes tell me, my vote won't count, it won't change anything?
Well, you're right. If you don't use it, it won't count. It won't change anything. But if you use it, the reality is now there is so much power among poor and low-wealth voters. Poor and low-wealth voters now represent in battleground states over 40%, in regular states over 30%. Well, we have races across this country and that are decided by 400 votes, like in North Carolina, the Chief Justice race a year ago, governor's race, 10,000 votes. When Obama ran in 2008, he lost on election day, but he won doing same-day registration and early voting and won by 14,000 votes. Listen, if you have, in North Carolina, there are over 1 million poor and low-wealth voters, for instance, who did not vote in the last election. The race for presidency was decided with less than 170,000 votes. If just 19% of those persons would vote, they could have closed that distance. And so what we're trying to do is get the truth out there. A lot of voters, poor and low-wealth voters, have not voted, Georgia, because they say nobody talks to them. So we're talking to them. We're reaching them. We're saying, don't just vote to support, vote as a demand. I vote now because I'm going to demand living wages. I vote now because I'm going to demand health care. I vote now because I see people who want to turn back the clock in many, many ways, in rights for workers, in health care, in voting rights, and that's not the America that we want. And guess what? There comes a time when you have power, but you have to use that power. And we're seeing an excitement across the country where people are saying, you know what? It's high time that we use it. The Southern strategy of George said they were going to polarize us and separate us. Well, the plan was 50, 60 years ago to polarize and separate us. We can have a plan to unify and empower us, and that plan is right now. Go to www.vote411.org. Go to the Poor People's Campaign website. Look, it's on, and we've got to work hard. In Georgia, 49% of Georgians are poor and low wealth. That's 4.9 residents. 47% in North Carolina. That's power that we have to use. And I hope that as I see President Obama and others moving, I hope they'll come through North Carolina too. I hope that people will talk about poor and low-wealth voters. I hope that they will just talk about the agenda. You know, you don't even have to talk partisan. Just talk about what's at stake in this democracy.
Absolutely. And to make the point, just to put a finer point on it, when Bishop Barber is talking about poor and low-wealth voters, he's not just talking about black voters. He's talking about black, white, Asian American, Latino, all voters of all races. That's the whole idea. It's a coalition. It's a coalition.
In fact, 140 million voters in this country, the poor low wealth, George. Real quickly, 26 million are black. That's 60.9% of black people. 66 million are white. That's a little bit over 30% of white people. 68% of Latino. We're talking about that coalition that Martin Luther King dreamed of masses of poor black folk, poor white folk, poor Latinos coming together and using their power.
Absolutely. Democracy defender Bishop William Barber, thank you very much, my friend. Much appreciated. All right, well, who knows, the week is still ahead. Somebody did